We know this market is still going great for sellers, but there are some ways that buyers are trying to pull one over on you and get more money. So in this video, I'm going to tell you 4 strategies that buyers are using and ways that you can combat those to make sure you get the most money out of your home when you sell it. The very first one are escalation clauses. So let me tell you what an escalation clause is. An escalation clause says that they're going to put in their offer. Let's say your home is listed for $250,000. They offer $250,000, and they say they are willing to beat the highest offer by $1,000 up to a set price. So let's say $260,000. So that sounds great. Like you would think, oh, that's good, I'm getting more money. However, think of it this way. If you get several offers, but let's say all of them are just flat, straight up, full price. So every one of them are for $250,000. And they have this escalation clause up to $260,000. They're going to cap out at $251,000. They're not going to have to go all the way up to $260,000 because there's no other offers that are pushing it. However, if you didn't have the escalation clause, they would have just came in with their highest and best. They would have flat out offered you $260,000 and you would have walked away with $260,000. So that's leaving $9,000 on the table. And in a lot of cases, it goes even higher. I've seen them $25,000 up to $100,000 over asking price, depending on what market you're in. So it really can leave a lot of money on the table if you allow it. So what is the way that you can combat it? Well, you can go ahead and tell your agent right off the bat you do not want any escalation clauses. And they can put that when they list the home, no escalation clauses are allowed, and instead your highest and best offer is due by X amount of time. Obviously, you want to give it a few days on the market to make sure you're getting all of your offers in, but then make highest and best due, and then everybody will have to bring their highest offer to the table. You're not leaving any money there, and you don't have to deal with the hassle of it. So for escalation clauses, buyers love them. Why would they not? They're not having to pay quite as much money. You know, I've used them so many times for my buyers, and it always works out well. Why would you come in and offer, you know, $25,000 above asking price when you could do an escalation clause and not be set up to go that high over? And I'm going to tell you, there've been a couple of situations I was representing clients, and they would have gladly went over $10,000, $15,000 over the asking price, but we used this escalation clause and we ended up getting it for literally $1,000 over the list price because we just didn't know. But if they had told us no escalation clause, we would have just came in strong and gave them that really hard and fast high number and not had to deal with it. So think about that. You really can leave a lot of money on the table. The second thing would be buyers asking for closing costs. So way back in the day, just a couple of years ago when the market wasn't so crazy, it was a very common thing to see the buyers asking for closing costs. But now that we're in such a tight market, it's really tough if they don't have the money, but you as a seller should not offer to pay for it, because you got to think of it this way. If they have an appraisal contingency in there, all they are going to pay is how much your home appraises for. So if your home appraises for $275,000, that is the max they're going to pay. So if you've already agreed to pay for $8,000 in closing costs, you're taking $8,000 off of what you would have gotten, which is the $275,000. So why would you want to do that? That just doesn't make sense. And you've got to really look at examples, because I've had several clients that have had their homes for sale and we've gotten in multiple offers, and they look at some of these really high offers, but they're having to pay closing costs, but they're not seeing the math. They're not seeing that, oh, I've got to take the closing costs off. They're just looking at, oh, I could get $20,000 above list price here. But by the time I explain to them that it has to meet the appraisal, and then they're going to automatically take less money than what the home appraises for, it makes them really rethink things and kind of back off of that a little bit. So just a word of the wise, I would not do the closing costs unless your home has been sitting on the market for a little while and you know you're not just bombarded with offers. But if you've got a lot of offers, do not consider taking one that has any kind of closing costs, because you're just setting yourself up for failure there. The third way that will take advantage of a seller is during their due diligence or their inspection period. So in a standard contract, the buyer gets a due diligence period, and that's their chance to do any kind of inspections, look up anything. If they decide not to buy your home during this time, they get their earnest money back. So it's their chance to make sure this is the right property for them. Now, in some really competitive markets, you will see them waive these. They will come in and ask for 0 days due diligence, and they're basically buying the property as is. Some other times you will see them waive the due diligence period, but they may come in and do the inspection just for information purposes. Now, if you get either one of these two situations, it's great for you as a seller, because you don't have to worry about them coming in and asking for repairs or for you to lower the price or any of that kind of thing. But I'm going to tell you how they'll take advantage of you in this situation. So they'll come in and they'll see that your home is listed for $250,000, and they'll go ahead and throw out a number, you know, oh, let's give them, you know, $260,000 for this house. But I see that roof, and I guarantee you it's going to flag on an inspection, but we'll take care of that when the inspection comes. So they're going into it mentally preparing to to ask for money off or to ask for the repairs to be done, knowing that those $10,000 of repairs are going to bring it back to just a regular full price offer. So how can you combat this? You can do a couple of things. You can get your agent to vet them. She can call them, and I've done this for mine and it worked out really well. Call them and just say, hey, look, how are your buyers? Are they going to be the kind that's going to nitpick this? And because my seller, they're not going to do it. Like, we don't want to waste any time. And I did this on one of my most recent ones, and it was a roof thing too, and I'd had several people ask me about the roof, and I vetted every single offer that I got, and the offer that I went with, they didn't ask for anything during their inspection period because I'd already set the stage and let them know my expectations. So you can do that. You can sell it as is, which is another way to do things, and that way they know you're not doing any kind of repairs. Another thing is to make sure you have your seller's property disclosure clearly defined, have it available for all of them to look at, and then if they bring up wanting something repaired, you just point back to that seller's property disclosure. Hey, you knew about this when you did it, and I'm not going to fix it. Because I had that happen too. We had one that got multiple offers. The buyer that we went with saw the seller's property disclosure, saw how old the HVAC was. It was working perfect. We didn't have any issues with it. But when they did their inspection, that's what they wanted. And they wanted to take it off $8,000 for that HVAC. And we refused. We told them, you knew the age of this when you put in your offer. You should have already done this to calculate. You didn't find anything on the inspection. The HVAC worked perfectly. And so we just put our foot down and wouldn't do it. And you know, they did. They backed out, but we went with another offer, explained the whole situation to them. They didn't ask for any repairs, and we ended up getting the exact same amount of money on that second offer. So you just have to set expectations and let them know what you will and will not compromise on. And the fourth way they can take advantage of you is with that appraisal contingency. So whenever you use our first example of $250,000, you will see people come in there and offer you crazy numbers, like $300,000 for that house. When I have ran the comparables and I know there's no way it's going to go for $300, or I wouldn't have priced it at $250. Those people that are doing that, they're throwing that high number out there knowing that that appraisal is going to be their safety net and going to catch them and keep them from coming out of pocket. It's kind of a bad thing. I know a lot of agents that will push that and they'll say, oh, don't worry about it because we've got the appraisal contingency. And I mean, I've even done this with some of my buyers that were really worried about it. I'm like, look, you're protected by the appraisal contingency, but I'm not encouraging them to go $50,000 over when I know it's not going to appraise for that. And I've had several that have done that to me. You know, I've got some really good offers on some of my homes, but I know it's an FHA loan or something that has an appraisal with it, and I know it's not going to appraise. So we're better off to take the lower offer that we know will appraise and that's going to be a better option than that one is. So a way you can combat this is you can know the comparables, know exactly what your home is going to go for, at least have a good idea so that you're not surprised whenever that money comes back. And you can ask them for either an appraisal gap or an appraisal waiver. Obviously, the appraisal waiver is better. That is them saying they're going to buy it regardless of what it comes in for. So that earlier example, if they put that offer in for $300,000, you're walking away with $300,000. No matter if it appraises for $190 or if it appraises for $298, you're getting the $300,000 one. So that is the best case scenario. They're guaranteeing they're going to pay that asking price for the home. The second one is still good, but it's not quite as good as the other one. It's an appraisal gap. So this is where they come in and they say, we are willing to pay X amount over the appraisal value, but not to exceed the sales price. So in the case of the $300,000 offer, let's say they said they would pay up to $300,000 and give a $5,000 appraisal gap. So if the situation comes in and let's say it appraises for $290, they're going to end up paying $295. Yes, you would lose that $5,000, but you're gaining an extra $5,000 because they're going to pay $5,000 above what the appraisal is. So that's really nice, and that's what I always try to do. Anytime we've got multiple offers, I always counter back at least the top two and see which one of them will give me an appraisal gap, because that's just guaranteeing more money for my clients. And sometimes we don't have to use it, but then sometimes we do, and that really does help to know we're at least getting that extra money in there. If this sounds good and you want to learn more, make sure you check out this video right here where I discuss which is going to be better for you, to rent your home or to sell it straight out. Make some money. As always, I'm your unicorn real estate agent helping you turn your home dreams into a reality.